Hey, Commissioners, it looks like the attendee list is populated. Feel free to get started, Commissioner Rodriguez-Kennedy.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. I just wanted to apologize. I had some federal business to attend to. Interesting times in our country. So the regular meeting of the Civil Service Commission for November 6th, 2024 will now come to order. Welcome in-person and online attendees. If you want to provide oral comments on any of the agenda items, please be sure to follow the instructions on the first page of the agenda. If you're attending this meeting in person, and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, when asked, please stand and identify yourself by name or number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. Attendees joining this meeting using the Zoom application will alert Commission staff of your intention to speak about the agenda item by using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Please include your name, telephone number, and other identifying feature you selected when logging in, and the agenda item you want to speak about. Attendees who dialed into today's meeting, please press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert Commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. We will now commence with the order of business. Will Commission analysts please take the roll call?
Commissioner Coleman,
Present.
Commissioner Fletcher, Commissioner Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez-Kennedy.
Present. We'll now move to item B, approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 7th, 2024? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion, Coleman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Coleman and a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any discussion? Actually, is this one? Yeah, that's good. Seeing none, will the Commission analyst please record Commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez-Kennedy.
Aye. That passes unanimously. We'll now move to item C, non-agenda public comment. Members of the public may address any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission other than the items that are on today's agenda. Total amount of time allowed for public comment will be limited to not more than 2 minutes unless the Commission President agrees to extend the time. Do any of the members of the public wish to make a public comment about any other matter or any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission, but it is not on today's agenda? If so, and you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of your screen to inform Commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand or to alert Commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. We will need a minute to wait a minute now in the event that anyone wants to make a comment and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we received no request to make a public comment.
Thank you. Hearing none, we will now move on to agenda item D. Do any of the attendees want to, which is the, is that a consent? No. Oh, do any of the attendees want to pull an agenda item for discussion? If you're attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, please stand and identify yourself by name and number. And we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. If you are speaking for an appellant or complainant, please use their assigned number. If you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to inform Commission staff of the agenda item you would like to speak. If you've dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone in order to raise your hand to alert Commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. We will now wait a minute. Wait, did I do this already?
No, keep going.
Okay, just making sure. We will now wait a minute in the event somebody wants to pull an agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes, Commissioner.
It's been a long couple of days.
Oh, we just had an anonymous attendee said, "Hi, I'm here for non-agenda public comment."
Let's see who kind of interested. Let's see what's up.
And we do have members.
Okay, so we have some online attendees. There is an anonymous attendee that wanted to speak for public comment. Now, generally, we've already passed that point in the agenda, but I will hear it.
So if the anonymous attendee would please identify yourself by raising your hand, then I will allow you to speak. Maybe it's this person.
You might be.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you wanting to speak about public comment or to pull an agenda item for discussion?
Not to pull an agenda item. It's for an item not on the agenda today. But it's a matter pending before the commission.
Okay. Well, go ahead and speak.
Proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners, and I apologize for being late. I am the complainant in Commission Matter 2024-008. I'm here today to address my complaint and concerns regarding the length of time since both filing and investigation assignment of this complaint. My complaint is a discrimination matter based upon non-job related factors. The complaint was filed on February 16th, 2024, and was assigned to OEC for investigation shortly thereafter. The commission initially assigned this matter to Commissioner Smith. My initial meeting with OEC took place in April, 46 days after the filing of my complaint. At that initial meeting, I was given a rough estimate of 6 to 8 weeks for the investigation to take place. At the end of the 6th week, I was again informed that my timeline would be 8 to 12 weeks, and later that the investigation will take 6 to 8 months from my initial meeting. As of today's meeting, 264 days have passed since the filing of my complaint. After reviewing the county's administrative manual, it states that the commission shall refer the matter to OEC for a report back within 60 days. Having been to OEC's office twice, I see the level of staffing. I want to stress before my final remarks that I understand that OEC is understaffed, and it appears that their work is undervalued because of their understaffing, which I understand is not something that this commission has much authority over. Nothing in my complaint and concern to you today is meant to cast negative light on OEC or undervalue their work or complain that their work is inefficient. As I understand, they not only investigate the CSC's complaints, but also have other responsibilities beyond that. I sincerely appreciate OEC for taking the time to meet with me, hear me out fully, respond to my numerous questions, and complete a fair and thorough investigation. I believe I have a strong case for the commission and sincerely hope that when the time comes, I'm granted a hearing, but 264 days is an extraordinary amount. While I understand that my investigation can take longer for a number of reasons, I won't know if OEC has ever contacted my witnesses. I do know that we're approaching the new year, and it will soon be a year since the event that led to the filing of this complaint. Given the time that has passed, I'm requesting at this point that the commission directly inquire about the expected completion date. As at this point, it feels unfair to me for it to go on this long. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner, if I could please respond, I am
Yes.
aware of his situation. I have been informed by the Office of Ethics and Compliance that they are anticipating sending us the report on your investigation by the end of this month. And then we would have it on the agenda, probably, well, depending on how soon we get it, we could maybe have it on the December agenda. That might be a little too soon. If it's not on the December agenda, it will be on the January agenda.
Thank you. I appreciate
And that would be, yes, and that would be January 15th, because the first Wednesday of January, which is our normal meeting date, is January 1st, New Year's Day. So we will not be having a meeting that day.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know.
Sure thing.
All right. We will now go to agenda item E, the formation of the, actually, well, that was more than a minute. I think we're fine. We'll now move on to formation of consent, of the consent agenda. Will the commission analyst announce the items forming the consent agenda?
Commissioners, agenda item 3 has been withdrawn, and agenda item 4 is automatically pulled for discussion. Therefore, agenda items 1, 2, and 5 through 7 form the consent agenda.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. This is Commissioner Johnson.
We have a second.
Commissioner Coleman.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Coleman to approve the consent, the remaining the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the commission analyst please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. We'll now move on to our discussion items. Agenda item 3 is pulled for discussion, which is, I'm sorry, that was the one that was pulled. I'm sorry. Yeah, withdrawn. My apologies. We're going to move on to the next one, which is agenda item 4, which is my report on a discipline hearing. Commissioner Coleman, will you please chair this portion of the meeting while I read my report and make a motion?
Yes, I will. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen to alert commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert commission staff. We will need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to speak. Executive Officer, please start a timer.
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we've received no requests to speak about this agenda item.
Hearing none, Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy, please proceed with your report.
Appellant 2024-012, the employee appealed a final order of removal and charges removing him from the class and position of Deputy Public Administrator Guardian in the Health and Human Services Agency, the department. The commission appointed me, Commissioner Will Rodriguez Kennedy, to hear the appeal and submit findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the Civil Service Commission. Thereafter, a meeting was held on September 11th, 2024. Causes of discipline were acts incompatible with and or inimical to the public service, conduct unbecoming, and failure of good behavior. The employee was a Deputy Public Administrator Guardian for the San Diego County Department of Aging and Independent Services, Health and Human Services, from July of 2022 until his separation on March 21st, 2024. In his role as Deputy Public Administrator Guardian, the employee is expected to utilize an online search software licensed by the county from LexisNexis called Accurate The Accurate system allows for a comprehensive search of public records compiled by LexisNexis, or retrievable records, or retrievable from public records to find out information related to a client. For the purposes of the department and this proceeding, client is defined to include either a deceased person identified by the county medical examiner and whose estate should be protected for the next of kin, public administrator, or a person whose health requires a conservator to care for the person's estate, or both, and whose family members are unknown, a public guardian. The Accurate software system allows the department's authorized staff, deputies, supervisors, and managers to seek information on a client to, one, if necessary, verify the identity of the decedent, two, find relatives or next of kin, and three, as administrator of an estate or as conservator, to locate assets and property of the client's estate. The information that can be obtained from an accurate search typically includes information of a sensitive nature, including social security numbers, home addresses, private telephone numbers, dates of birth, names of parents and siblings, etc. Such information can be used to the detriment of the clients or their next of kin. As a result, LexisNexis requires users to review their terms of use and understand what information users are authorized to receive in a search. It is reasonable to conclude that misuse of the system can result in a termination of the license for its use. In addition to restrictions on the use of the Accurate system, the department and county in general has access to other similarly sensitive personal information in its own records. Therefore, users of systems operated by the county are governed by equally restrictive rules, including that no employee of the department is allowed to search themselves, members of their families, friends, or other persons not related to a valid business purpose. In or around November 27, 2023, the Accurate administrator for the department received an email from Crystal Hinderling, compliance auditor, LexisNexis Risk Solutions, notifying the department of questionable activities of the employee in searching for, quote, EN. In order to verify the circumstance of the search, Accurate administrator for the department conducted a check of the software's active systems and found a total of 11 discrepancies where the employee had searched himself, his spouse, his minor daughter, EN, and his spouse, EN's spouse, his brother's current wife, and his brother's ex-wife. When questioned by the department's investigator, the employee stated that he did not have any recollection of searching for EN on Accurate, but believes that he might have copied and pasted his name inadvertently while having two screens up at the same time, and one having a to-do list, including a note to contact EN. After Accurate administrator for the department found that the 10 inappropriate searches, the employee was interviewed by the investigator for a second time. In that interview, he stated that he didn't know how to search for EN how the search for EN extended to EN's spouse, KN, with the excuse that he did not understand how Accurate system works. The investigator then went through records that revealed that the employee searched for himself 6 more times over a period just over 1 year, Exhibit 10, and questioned why the employee needed to search for himself that many times over the 1-year period. His explanation is that he was learning the system at the beginning of the period, but couldn't explain why he did it 4 or 5 times. When asked about the reasons for the other 4 searches, the employee's explanation was that he was trying to see how the software works using different names, addresses, and when searching a minor. Employees am I right? Yeah. All right. Employee is guilty of acts incompatible with and or inimical to the public service, in that the employee used the county's data processing system and Accurate software to access personal information on himself 6 times, his spouse once, his minor daughter once, EN and his spouse once, his brother's current wife once, his brother's ex-wife once, all over a period of 1 year, in violation of county and department policies and in violation of the terms of use of the Accurate software license. While the employee was initially being trained on the use of the accurate system, his training did not include a right to test the system by searching himself, his family, or friends. Further, the employee had legitimate reasons to use the system for searching for next of kin of clients, as well as assets and properties that might have been owned by the clients. And those uses were ideal for training with the assistance of his assigned mentor and other staff. Employees guilty of conduct unbecoming in that as a deputy public administrator guardian, the employee was in a position of trust and served as a fiduciary to clients of the department. More importantly, there is a responsibility to the public that the employee in the position of deputy public administrator guardian should respect the privacy rights of members of the public and should not use county equipment and software unless it is for appropriate business purpose. 11 non-business related searches over a 1-year period is not indicative of training. And although some peers anecdotally mentioned that they were allowed to search themselves when first testing the software and system for accuracy, there was no need for the employee to test the system for accuracy. It is important to note that the department should discontinue the practice of either passively allowing or even suggesting that employees are allowed to search themselves when first testing the software and system for accuracy, as was suggested in the testimony of multiple witnesses. Doing so is a violation of county policy and creates an inconsistent message for staff. That being said, even if it were a mitigating factor, the 6 times the employee searched for himself, it does not explain his searches for EN or his wife, nor his brother's wife, or his brother's ex-wife. These actions not only violated civil service rules, they were also creepy. Employee is guilty of failure of good behavior in that the employee was not forthright in the department's investigation, making multiple excuses for conducting the 11 searches of 6 individuals, none of which acknowledged that he intended to locate information on persons, including himself. There's no reason that the employee could not have trained himself by searching on behalf of clients of the department whose files were assigned to him. While perhaps tedious and slow initially, there is no better way to learn than properly using the system. The employee was not told by his supervisor that he could search himself, his friends, or family members as part of the training. On the contrary, even if he were told to do so, every banner, policy, and warning regarding the prohibition on such uses were ignored. If there was a question, he could have simply spoken with his supervisor to obtain permission to conduct the searches. The employee explains his conduct either as mistakes on his part at best, or blames it on an effort by his employer to rid the office of complainers through deceit or bullying at worst. Yet, there's no evidence presented to support the notion that the department did anything to remove employees who felt adversely affected by the reorganization or turned a blind eye to interdepartmental dissension. Testimony from witnesses ranged from speculation to what appeared to be unsubstantiated axe grinding by mostly former employees. The employee does admit that he performed the searches that resulted in the notification from LexisNexis of unusual search activity on his part. However, in his defense, he attempts to explain them away by comparing what occurred in 2019 and 2020, when the department was testing the efficacy of Accurate as a new search tool, with his training in using the now accepted software to perform his duties as deputy public administrator of Guardian. The circumstances are not the same. Accordingly, the department has met its burden to establish the violations occurred and are not only inexcusable, but are unacceptable. Employee can no longer be trusted to use county or Accurate data in a responsible manner for business purposes only. His failure to follow county policy and respect the public's privacy put at risk the county's licensing agreement to have access to the data it needs to perform important services for clients of the public administrator and public guardian. Therefore, employee's removal from the position of deputy public administrator guardian is appropriate. Based on the findings and conclusions set forth above, I hereby recommend the following decision: that the final order of removal and charges be affirmed, and that the proposed decision shall become effective upon the date of approval by the Civil Service Commission, and I so move.
I'll second. The motion?
All those in favor?
What?
Oh, no. Discussion.
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye.
The motion passes. That concludes today's meeting. Thank you for attending. The next commission meeting is scheduled for December 4th, 2024. This meeting is adjourned.